In this session, we will be learning about what is a voucher, what are the types of voucher with examples, what is a journal, what is an account or a ledger account. Now let's see what is a voucher. The voucher is the documentary evidence supporting the financial transaction is known as the voucher. So in order to pass a journal entry, in order to record a particular financial transaction in the books, we need a voucher. Now this voucher are prepared internally as well as externally. Internally means within the organization, whereas externally means received from our vendors from whom either we purchase the goods or receive some services. Basically, voucher means to vouch, that is to confirm or ascertain a certain financial transaction. Entity maintains internal document having details and approval of each financial transaction along with the external evidence. So for every financial transaction, as an entity, it needs to provide details of what is the nature of the financial transaction, who has approved that financial transaction. Okay, so it maintains an internal document, that is internal voucher, along with the external evidences or documents. There are different vouchers for different financial transaction. So for each different type of financial transaction, there are different types of voucher. And each voucher is numbered serially as per the type. Usually the voucher is numbered serially, chronologically as per the date, and its type. Now let's see what are the different types of vouchers. Now vouchers for sale and services provided. The entity prepares invoice, that is bill for the sale of goods or for invoice for rendering services. In case of cash sale, the entity may give cash bill, cash memo or cash invoice. Then delivery challan in case of goods, sales voucher, or you may also say debit note. This is an internal document containing details about the sale. Now let's take one example here. So this is your business and this is your client. So what is happening is within the business there are various departments. Like there is account department, sales department or marketing department. Then there is stores in charge of stock of goods. Okay, so whenever there is a sale of goods, what happens is sale department will intimate accounts department to prepare an invoice, and to store department it will intimate to dispatch the goods. You will be sending goods along with invoice, okay, and then you will also be sending delivery challan to client. So what will client do is client will sign one copy of delivery challan as an acknowledgement of receipt, and then one copy of delivery challan will be sent back to you. Then there is one more sales voucher which will be prepared by sales department. Okay, so it's an internal voucher. It's a debit note wherein it will take all the approvals who has approved those sales, and that will also be sent to the client, and subsequently he will acknowledge that and send it back. So these are all documents which are interchanged between our business and client. So all these documents are known as a voucher. In order to record a particular sale in the books of account, we need all these vouchers. Now let's take one example of services. This is our business, our client. So in case of services, there is one pre-approved contract which is signed between our business and client. Okay, so whenever we are providing services, we will be raising the invoices to the client as per the contract. Okay, since there is no sale of good, there is no delivery challan, but we will be sending the invoices as per the terms of contract in case of services. So all these documents are known as a voucher. So this is a format of invoice. invoice, then here you have a company logo or a logo of entity, then name, address of entity, GST number, PAN number of the entity, then date and invoice number. Invoice number is usually automatically generated in the system. Then customer ID, then bill to and ship to. Sometimes the billing address and the shipping address may be different. Then here we have description of goods or description of services, then product code, quantity, units, rate, amount. Then we have to add the taxes here, total amount in words, okay, and then note or additional conditions if any, and here somebody has to sign, authorized signatory has to sign for on behalf of entity. So this is the format of invoice. This is a format of delivery challan. Okay, the challan or delivery note which we are sending along with the goods. Here you have a company logo or an entity logo, the name and address of the entity, again GST number, PAN number. Then here we have information like date, delivery challan number, the buyer's order number, or in case of services you may also have an agreement number, then dispatch document number, dispatch details, how the goods are dispatched, then the terms of delivery if any, okay, then again bill to, ship to address of the customer. Then here we have description of goods, product code, quantity, units, rate, amount, add taxes, total amount in words, note or additional conditions if any, and for the name of entity on behalf of entity, authorized signatory. Voucher for the purchase of the good. In this case, we will be preparing one purchase voucher or credit voucher, okay, wherein we will be putting all the details of who has approved those purchases of the goods, and it will have the signatures of the store manager and salesperson, okay. Then invoice that is received from the seller of the goods, and delivery challan received from the seller of the goods. Now let's see an example. This is our business and this is a seller. So whenever we are purchasing some goods, the seller will be sending us invoice, then delivery challan and the goods. Now when the goods are received, the stores in charge or the stock department, they will verify the goods and then they will acknowledge the delivery challan and then send one copy of delivery challan to the seller as an acknowledgement. Then this invoice received will be given by stock department to finance department and marketing department, okay, and the goods will be kept in the godown or the warehouse. So the documents like invoice, delivery challan are attached with your purchase voucher or credit voucher which is prepared internally, okay, and it's signed and approved by your stock department, marketing department, and finally it goes to accounts or finance department, okay. So all these documents are known as purchase vouchers. Now let's see what is a purchase voucher. This is a purchase voucher. We have name of vendor, address of vendor, contact number of the vendor, then date, purchase voucher number, then invoice number which is sent by a vendor and the date of that invoice. Then we have description here, name of project or cost. This is for internal purpose. For goods are purchased, okay. If it is for the specific project, then we have to add it the name of project or a cost center. We have to add it here. Then quantity, rate, amount, then add the taxes, total amount in words, any additional notes here, and here the authorized signatory has to sign. So expense voucher. This is an internal document prepared along with the expenses invoice received from the vendor. It has details of expenses incurred, signature of the person approving the expenses. Okay. Now if you see, this is similar to your purchase voucher. It is internally prepared document and then it is attached with the invoice received from the vendor or the contract signed from the vendor. Okay, let's see one example for this. See, this is your business and this is a seller of either goods or he is a service provider. Okay, so he is providing either services or goods to your business. So what we are doing is, as a business, we will be preparing one expense voucher. He'll also send us the invoice from time to time. So this invoice will be attached with the expense voucher and it will be used for recording a financial transaction related to the expenses. Now there are certain internal expenses. What are those? Like your salaries to employees, right? Or say your contract fees, professional fees. Okay. Now what is happening here is, as a business, there is one contract which has been signed with this internal employees. Okay, during recruitment. Okay. So as per the terms of contract, the salary will be paid at the end of every month. Okay. And instead of expense voucher, a salary sheet is been signed and taken from the employees or laborers also. Nowadays, what happens is, generally a salary or accounts department will send you a mail. There is no separate salary sheet which is signed from the employees, and usually the salary is not paid in cash. It is paid and credited to your bank account. So that itself is a evidence that salary is paid. So you need not take a sheet signed by the employees. Okay. So this was about the expense voucher. This is an expense voucher. So internal document which is prepared within the organization. This is logo, name of the vendor, again address and contact details of the vendor here, date, expense voucher number, the nature of expense. So what is the nature of expense, whether it's an advertising expense or repairs and maintenance expense, we have to write it here. Then TDS, whether tax needs to be deducted at source. Then description of services. Here the description about the nature of services is given. For example, rent to Mr. A, or electricity expense for the month of so and so, or office repairs work done by Messrs. So and so. Okay, again the name of project and cost center. If the expense is related to a specific project, we write the name of project or cost center here. Then the amount, add taxes, total amount in words, total amount in number, then note or additional conditions if any, and here authorized signatory who has approved this expense has to sign. This is a travel expense voucher. Okay. It is generally given by an employee or a manager of an employee when the employee travels for the business purpose. So this is logo of the company, name of employee, employee ID, position, department, manager of the employee, address and contact details of the employee, PAN number of the employee. Then here we have date, expense voucher number, period of travel, that is from to, then place of travel and a purpose. Now here we have date, description, then bill number or invoice number if any, then project number or cost center. Okay, if the person is traveling for a specific project, we have to write a project or the cost center number here. Then what was the nature of expense, whether it was for accommodation, transport, fuel, food, phone, recreational activities or other miscellaneous expense. And accordingly we have to total it, total expense, then advance paid if any, to the employer along with the payment voucher details. We have to write it here. Total amount in words, note or additional conditions. Here we want a signature of manager, and here we want a signature of authorized signatory. He can be a manager or any other person who has approved this travel. So this was about travel expense voucher. Payments voucher. It is prepared when the payment is made for expenses or purchase of goods. It has the details of a person to whom the payment is made, then the mode of payment, person approving payment, transaction ID or check in case of bank payments. Now payment vouchers can be of two types. One is bank payment voucher in case of bank payments, and cash payments voucher in case of cash. Now usually in case of cash payment voucher, since the payment is made in cash, okay, so we won't have any evidence in our bank statement. So the cash payment voucher is usually acknowledged by the person receiving the payments. Okay, so this was about your payments voucher. Payment voucher. This can be for both cash as well as bank payments. So given by a company, prepared internally by a entity. We have a logo here, payment voucher number, date, a name of employee or vendor to whom the payment is made, then vendor ID or employee ID, payment for invoice number or voucher number. So we have a details of payment for so and so invoice or so and so voucher. And mode of the payment, whether it's in cash, check or bank transfer. Then we have details of payment, that is check number or transaction ID, and amount, total amount, amount in words, and authorized signatory here. Receipt voucher. It is prepared when the payment is received by the organization. It has details like date, details of a person from whom amount is received, check number and transaction ID, amount, etc. Now receipt vouchers may be of two types, that is bank receipt voucher and a cash receipt voucher. So in case of your bank payments, you make bank receipt voucher. In case of your cash, you make a cash receipt voucher. Okay, now these are also typically known as receipts. Now one copy of this receipt voucher needs to be given to a client, customer, okay, or any other person who is making payment to our business as a evidence or proof. So this was about a receipt voucher. This is a receipt. So we have a logo, receipt voucher number, date, and received rupees so and so. In bracket we have to write amount in words. By cash, check, bank transfer, debit card, credit card, white check number or transaction ID here, from Mr. or Messrs so and so. For, you have to write purpose. We have received the amount for what purpose, and again the invoice number or the voucher number so and so. And again here the authorized signatory who has received the payment. Okay, so this was about the receipt. Journal vouchers. These are prepared for non-cash transaction wherein certain entries are required to be passed in the books of account. Now there may be certain transactions which are required to be recorded in the books of account. Okay, so they might not come in any of the categories which we had seen, that is expenses or income or your sales voucher or payment voucher or receipt voucher. So all those transactions are recorded using the journal vouchers. The journal voucher will basically serve as your evidence, okay, as in who has approved this following transaction to be recorded in the books of account. So those are known as journal vouchers. So this is for your internal recording purpose. So this was about a journal voucher. Journal voucher. Journal voucher is for passing a journal entry. So logo, journal voucher number, date, description, amount, debit so and so account, credit so and so account, narration, that is description of other journal entry wherein we can specify what is the reason for passing this particular journal entry, and here an authorized signatory who has approved this journal entry. So this was about journal voucher. Journal. So, journal is a book of original entry. It is a book wherein the journal entries are recorded and then they are posted to the ledger account. A journal has record of all financial transactions related to business. So, journal is basically a book wherein your original financial transaction is recorded in the form of journal entries, and subsequently these transactions are used to be posted in the respective ledger accounts. So this is a format of journal entry. You will have date, particulars, voucher number, and debit amount and credit amount. Now here, since this is a double entry system, your debit amount should be equal to your credit amount in every journal entry. Account. In bookkeeping, an account refers to asset, liabilities, income, expenses, equity as represented by individual ledger pages to which changes in the value are chronologically recorded with debit and credit entries. These entries referred to as postings and they become a part of book of final entry or ledger. So account means it can be asset, it can be liability, it can be income, expenses, or it can be account of any person also. So basically it refers to transaction, each and every financial transaction between the business and that particular account. Okay, so say if there is some transaction, sale of good between the business and your client, there will be a client account which is maintained in the books and it will record all the financial transaction, all sales, then payment received from the client, everything related to that particular client will be recorded in that account. Okay, it is similar to your bank account. Okay, bank account is a account which the bank maintains in its books. Okay, now this is a format of a ledger account. Name of the ledger, then this side will record all the debit entries, this side will record credit entries. Then we have date, particular, voucher number, amount. Date, particular, voucher number, amount. So at the end of every period, okay, say 1 year, what we do is we see the number of debit entries, number of credit entries, and we try to balance the ledger account and transfer the balance to the next period. Okay, so this was about account.